Let's Talk About It with Keola. Of course, I'm your host, Keola, and how y'all doing? And today I have my co-host with me, Sydney, and today we're going to be talking about, does it really matter to have your father in your life? Does it make a difference? Like, we're going to really talk about that, right? So if you are not caught up on episodes, make sure you go check out all of season 1 and check out the episodes that I've already recorded for season 2. Hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on episodes when they're released. And thank you guys for watching. I really, really appreciate it. So let's talk about it. So first of all, how you doing?
I'm good.
You doing good? You doing good? Okay. Well, we're gonna talk about this daddy thing, because you know, some people say it matters, some people say it doesn't.
It matters.
What do you think?
It matters.
Okay, and why do you think it matters? Tell me why, you know.
I believe it matters because my Heavenly Father created the institution of a family unit for a purpose.
She's going spiritual on me.
So it wasn't just for fun. It wasn't like there's something that a father brings to the table that a mother would never be able to bring. And not to say that, you know, mothers step up to the plate if a father is missing, but there's something about the role of a man in a home that a woman would never be able to bring. Okay. So that's why I feel like it's definitely important, and that's why I know my Creator instituted that with a purpose. It wasn't just because he said I wanted to have fun.
I don't have nothing else to do but put stars in the sky.
Right. And that's a good thing.
But that's all I got to do.
Right.
I know he got other stuff.
With purpose.
Yes, everything is with purpose, which brings me to my statement in saying we have moved away from the original intention. And you know, you and I talked about people getting away from the original intention of why things were created the way that they were. And our society is now like, all those things are old school, you know, this is a new era. But there for sure is a core belief in there's a reason for the institution of marriage. There's a reason for the family dynamics of a mother or father. And I think when you start really having conversations with people personally, you kind of realize, okay, so something is missing. Let's keep talking. And oftentimes you'll find out that the person either had a very bad relationship with their father, they had no relationship with their father, or their father was inconsistent. You know, that it leads you back to something. And so I think as a single woman now, knowing that I've been married before and have been on both sides, I can definitely say that as a single mother, I have been able to raise my son, raise my daughter, but there are certain things I could never have taught them. And that's just being honest, that as you stated, a man brings to the equation that as a woman, even tapping into my masculine energy, I just can't teach you. I'm not a man. Don't want to be a man. Love men, but don't want to be one. So I think that our society has minimized, though, the significance of having a father. And so when you start meeting...
Well, I wouldn't even say maybe our society. I think in Black culture, especially, like, it even stems back from like slavery.
Yeah, that's
we're still operating like from that trauma of like the Black man was stripped away from the home, so we never really got, I would say, like in Western civilization, a fair start of like
family,
the institution of like what a family is supposed to look like.
That was wrong.
They shouldn't have done it.
But however, at some point, we as a culture have to take responsibility and say, no, my father wasn't there. No, my great-grandfather wasn't there, but I'm going to be there.
How do you unlearn? Like, how do you shift the mindset? A lot of people don't know they operate in trauma. So that's really a trauma, like a trauma thing. So we've shifted that one small thing. It's not small, not trying to minimize it, but that one small
significant thing there.
Yeah, like shifted the whole spectrum of how we, in Black culture specifically, right? We value family and especially the importance of a man in a household. So like, how do you undo that?
So,
because one, they gotta recognize it. So if they don't recognize it, they don't think the father is worth being in the house
in the first place. So I think for me, a lot of things that I noticed growing up that I saw visually that I was like, yeah, I don't think I want that when I have a family. I think, you know, I want to be married when I have children. I want to have a dynamic because I saw so many single women doing it on their own. I wasn't even aware of the missing father syndrome in you know, when I was growing up. But I did know that there was a difference. And there's also a difference in a father being there but not being present either. Because sometimes men will say, well, you know, I'm there, but you're physically there, but you may not be there mentally. And so I think in order to really unlearn it, you have to first want something different. Like there has to be a desire. That you're looking, like if you looked at a person and said, I noticed this person carries, you know, really nice handbags all the time as a female.
Right.
And so now you're inquisitive about, well, I wonder how she's getting those. So I think as a female, a single woman, I would want to say, well, okay, I noticed, because it's not just TV, you know, there's, you know, the public persona that, you know, they have perfect family. Not that a family is perfect, but in order to unlearn it, you have to be curious to see what something else looks like. Okay? And so that's how I've managed to shift my thinking on a lot of things. And going back to our culture, because our culture was flat out robbed, like it was stolen. We can't minimize that or shrink that down. It was stolen. And the unit of the father, you know, I just read something recently about, you know, some of the plantations that were set up just to have a male there that would actually just have, you know, sex. The breeding plantation that would just have sex with females for the benefit of the plantation. Okay, so him as a man being the breeder, so what was that doing to him? Because now at some point when he stopped being the breeder, he now has a mindset. And he got children everywhere that has no connection. That's so sad. Don't laugh, City. Don't laugh.
He's tired.
But he might not be tired. That's why they chose him.
Somebody tired.
But his mindset is now something he's gonna pass on. Right. So at some point, he's got to shift his thinking to be able to change the narrative for his children that he finally does decide to raise. And so I think because society in general has still have a unfair perception of our culture, us as brown people, you know, African Americans, whatever, y'all got all these different names for
Negroes.
us. No, they don't call them Negroes anymore. But I think we have to take responsibility and say, I don't know how to be a father. I don't know how to do it, but this is the age of information. Let me learn how.
So and I think it's like representation. So like, what are we seeing? Yeah, what are we seeing? Like if I've never had a good example of, or like for a man, he's never had a good example of the role of a good man first, and then a good father.
Right.
It's like how does, like, what examples does he have?
So the desire
has to be there.
Has to be there. So even if he doesn't know the desire, like I wasn't born knowing how to be a mother, but I desired. I had instincts, but I read a lot. Like I read, and then, you know, single women in my family said, this is what you do, this is what you don't do. And then to add to that, I took accountability and said, I want even more than what they had. So let me take this, you know, a little bit further. So I think men in general have to decide that they desire that, because what has passed on to me is that men are still breeders. Okay, they're just breeders. There's no connection, real connection to the child. They're just breeding. So if you go right now to the child support office, there are men who really want to be a good father. There are men that really want to take care of their children and be a positive have a positive, but there are a lot of men who are simply breeders. That's the mindset, because remember, the breeding plantation breeded the mindset of those types of men. So if you have a man who, that's the family dynamics, and he came up in a family where that's all the men ever did was breed. So they're just a breeder. Like, they're just making babies with, and so it actually like grieves my spirit when you realize that that's the trauma that somebody has experienced growing up. Because, you know, my stepfather raised me from the time I was 4. Not that I didn't have a biological father, but we just never, he wasn't there. But my father who raised me, you know, he gave me a lot of things that a male figure.
Good man, Savannah.
Yeah, he was a good man, Savannah. He passed away. Oh, I don't want to get emotional about it. But so it doesn't mean that it has to be biological either. Like, you can be a father who decides, okay, if I'm gonna be with this woman, I'm gonna, you know, take on the role of a father.
Yes, he raised us. I'm not raised us, but
he took that role, and so I appreciate that. Like, I will never ever take that for granted, that that's a special thing, because as a single mother, sometimes it's not just having a father. Maybe you have a grandfather, maybe you have an uncle, maybe you have another male family member that may kind of play that role. But I think when, as women, even in friendships, you can kind of tell when a woman has a lot of insecurities, because typically the man is the first woman that a girl loves, just like, you know, the mother's the first woman that a boy loves. And so when you meet friends and you're like, okay,
she what?
She has some daddy issues.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so how do I help navigate this relationship with my friend or my whoever it is? And you realize that, and it's very sad. Like, when you realize it, it's unfortunate, because it now has created a whole nother pattern for the woman, right? So, you know, what would you say, or have you had that experience where you know that that's probably what a friend is, or somebody you've encountered, that's their scenario? How do you navigate that?
Well, one, it really only comes about, like, if we're talking about, like, relationships or something like that.
Yeah, that's when it's going to surface.
Yeah, but I always give my advice.
Relationship is always the unveiling, but okay.
I always give my advice to my friends in that area, you know, based upon, not that I see that they have, like, maybe father issues or a missing father issue, but what would I say to them if they didn't have it? Like, my advice still, like, is the same. I implore them, or I sometimes try for them to, like, dig within themselves first, because, like, that, like, we got to start with you first. Before I'm never the friend that's, like, gonna feed into your delusion.
Right.
So that's
your key word, delusion.
Yeah, if you need a friend to feed into your delusion, don't call me, because I'm never gonna do that. Like,
right.
Even when I don't have it all together myself, like, I'm still not gonna feed into your delusion. But yeah, like, my advice to them is still the same, whether they had their father was present or it wasn't. It's baseline, like, first we gotta look at ourselves. Yes. What are we doing to contribute to the problem?
Okay.
And 2, like, what are we gonna do differently? And if you're not, and I love my friends, but most of them don't right now be wanting change. So I just let them be. Like, do you lose?
Yeah, be who you are. And so with change, that was a good segue into my next question. So with you, so my husband and I were obviously married, went through a divorce, remarried, and unfortunately he passed away shortly after we remarried, but that had an impact on you. And as a mother, I'm not aware, or I'm not in tune to the impact of the father relationship dynamic that's kind of going back and forth, how that's affecting my children, because as single women, we're just in survival mode, right? We're just trying to make it happen for our children. We're not really thinking. I never taught them about against their father. Even when we were going through our divorce, I left that door open for them to decide how they wanted to move forward with it or didn't move forward. It was completely their choice. even though at the time I thought, but I would never have said that openly to them. And I'm, learning as I continue in life that those relationships that men have with their children is so crucial that as a woman, you can either help that along or you can kind of cause it, sometimes men say, well, women talk against their children to, about the father to the I would never have done that, and I don't recommend anyone do, because children are very intuitive. They'll figure it out on their own. If he's not a good father, if he's inconsistent, if he's not doing what he should do, they're going to, you can't hide it. Like, they're so in tune to things that you think that they're not. So with you having to change, how did that relationship where he was there and we went through divorce, how did that impact you?
Honestly,
be honest with the people.
I'm gonna be honest with the people. Brutally honest.
She brutally, y'all put your seatbelts on. I might need mine. Go ahead.
Honestly, I feel like if the divorce wouldn't have happened with you and Daddy, I feel like I probably would have been a daddy's girl, because me and him had that relationship like pre-divorce, before y'all got a divorce. So I think I had what you would say a good foundation, like you and Daddy laid a good foundation when y'all was together. I think you just finished molding the house, and that's where most of the work. I mean, the foundation is whatever, but I think after like seeing y'all go through the divorce, and like you said, you never said anything bad about Daddy, but just like me and Savon would be at the corner of the door listening. So
you're hustling.
like y'all would and they would intentionally they would be arguing in the garage. They would argue wherever
we were trying to hide.
So me and Savon, so they could hide, but ultimately we were still listening. I don't know. People nosy? I don't know. But whatever.
You're hustlers.
But I think and not like you never badmouthed him, but like seeing you, like you was really sad, like you was depressed. So I think seeing you like that.
We're gonna have another episode about brokenness after the divorce thing to help the ladies get through that, because I was broken.
Yeah, like the
I
time.
ain't broke now though.
No, like the time my mama used to, if the school called her, it's raps. The school called her, it's raps. And I remember one time, the school called you because I passed around a note. Whatever, we're not going to go into details what the note said. But you came up to the school, they called you came up to the school and you said, don't do it again.
It was like,
I said, somebody replace this lady.
What is happening here?
Somebody
clone Keola.
Yeah, she's out of here. She's gone. But like even that aspect of it, like seeing you go through that, or like seeing the transition, I think is what kind of helped mold my feelings of like, I don't like this man no more. So it wasn't anything that you directly said, but it was like just what I saw you go through.
Right.
And even though you tried to shield me from it, I still saw it.
Right. So men, I'm telling y'all, they all the time, it's not women bad mouthing. Their children are intuitive. They are.
Yeah. And I think it really used to get on my nerves when like his family would say, well, they just, your mama's saying stuff, so that's why they feel. No, she not saying nothing. Like, she didn't badmouth nobody. It was what she tried to hide, but clearly me and Savon was so like, what's going on? But yeah, that's what turned into my disdain for him, if you will.
So do you feel like you're one of those girls who have a disdain against, had a disdain against their father, and so now you think all men are bad, or you?
No, I don't think all men are bad. I don't think all men are cheaters. I don't think all men, like, I don't profess to what everybody else says, men ain't S. Like, that's not my ideology behind the man.
Yes.
I think my daddy was a human. He was flawed. He made a mistake. You and his relationship was y'all relationship. Did it teach me some things of what I don't want my relationship to look like, or what I don't want a man to do, which I feel like is why I have that hard non-cheating, non-negotiable.
Right.
Like, for me, that's a no.
Yeah.
But
understandable.
But I don't think, and I've gone to therapy and I've had therapy sessions to kind of, like overcome that. But it was never something that was big. It was just a disdain. Like, even when y'all got remarried, my parents was remarried, and I told my daddy, I don't like you. And that's some stuff typically you get jabbed in the mouth for. But like, it was just like, I had lost respect for him, I think, what
And
it
it's
was.
hard to re-respect someone once you've lost the respect.
Yeah, that's all it was. Like, I wasn't gonna be disrespectful or none of that. Like, that's still, I was raised to respect. It don't matter who
Adults,
it is. You respect them. But yeah, I think that's kind of what contributed to it. But I don't think I'm unhealed in that aspect. My father was present at the time that he was present. My parents was married. I had a good foundation. Their relationship broke off. It got back together, and then he died.
Right. Unfortunately, yeah. And so I think the dynamics of families can be different because sometimes people do get a divorce, and just because someone's divorced doesn't mean that you can't, parent your child, male or female. But it looks different when the person doesn't live with you because they're not there with the day-to-day nuances. And so I think, again, back to I think our culture really needs a healing in that area, for sure. And we need more programs, I think, or
male figures,
resources.
Figures.
Yeah, like for real. Yeah, not those pretending and then just ruin someone's life because you're pretending, but a solid male figure, because our community as a whole are lacking. I think a lot of young males join gangs.
Yeah,
because they're missing the presence of a upstanding, a solid male. Like, they don't have a solid male in their family, because oftentimes the gang leader portrays himself as, oh, I care about you, but in reality, if you cared about him, you wouldn't have him robbing a person or doing something that was going to cause him to end up in jail or prison. Some harm to himself. So I think our society as a whole has a hurdle there to get over. And I think as a woman, an African American woman, I think my role and responsibility, even with your brother, he's an adult, but my role is to impart what I know from the female perspective of be responsible, be who you say you are. Don't make a baby with someone that you're not prepared to be a parent to them and co-parent with this person for eternity.
Right.
Because even if the relationship dissolves, the child is still there.
Right. The child not going to dissolve.
No, the child not leaving. They're not leaving. They're not going. So your mental state has to be at a certain maturity level. You have now a role. And so, that's something that I stress to him, even though you may not ever hear me saying it, but I do say that to him, because if you step into that role, you now have this to deal with forever, and what you do will affect what he does.
I think I need a good TT though, little aunt.
Yeah, but not yet. No, he needs to get, that's down the road, both of you. But I think...
Can't you just see me as an aunt? Sydney would be the fun aunt. Fun aunt. Baby, what you want to do? Go to the park? We don't go to the park. We go to amusement
this
park.
episode is
Sorry.
about fathers, not TTs.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Fun aunt.
But I think men need that, and I as I stated previously, it grieves my spirit because that it's needful, and society is making it more challenging for African American males to move in life, because we still have that embedded hatred that's there. Is another topic also, because I don't understand that at all. Like, that I'm clueless about. How can you just look at another individual and decide, I hate you and I want to ruin your life because I hate you? What? I don't even get the
I can
life.
tell you how to grow this day.
No, thank you. I'm not taking applications for this day.
day.
But I think that the importance of the father, I think once a female realizes that she wants something more, like if you notice, like, you know how you'll hear women say, I keep meeting the same kind of guys. I keep getting the same, okay, there is a reason why you're meeting, so you don't know what the right guy looks like.
That, and even if you meet him, you throw him right back.
Right, because they're not properly vetting. Right. We talked about that on another episode. But they don't know what it looks like, and because they've never experienced it, it's foreign to them, right? But I could tell you something, ladies. If he wants to use your car, because he don't have his own, if he's abusive physically, mentally, in any aspect, if he cannot support himself and stand on his own, if he does not treat you with the utmost respect, if he is not like there's a list of things that you can just start checking off, oh, he's not this, and forget about just being so ready to let somebody warm your bed. Because once they warm your bed, they're leaving and you're back to an empty bed. So if you want something more than that, you have to move different. You have to, your curiosity, your desire for it has to overshadow that, so that you can start finding ways to learn how to look for that. And men, stop being breeders. I don't know, what the family dynamics for the person may be that may be listening that's a breeder, but this is the age of information. Go find out how to switch that narrative, how to change that, because you're like a vine, right? They're like a vine. So the male is this person, this one vine, and then he has the ability to infiltrate that through generations and like to ruin several thousands of years of lives, simply because the core person was out of whack. So find a way to get it together. And I think, we as women have to recognize when you see a good man, tell him, hey, that was nice. When you walk through the door, when a guy holds the door for me, I'm like, thank you, I appreciate that. I've seen men hold the door for women, they don't open their mouth, they just walk through. They probably didn't even recognize that he was doing a kind gesture. Men need that, right? They need to feel like, okay, she sees me. She recognizes that I'm doing something kind. I'm not asking to rob you. I'm not doing anything. Like, I'm doing a good thing. So, hey, I appreciate that, because we have the unique ability to influence men in a way that can cause a kingdom to fall. Okay? So because of that, we have to learn to use our femininity with men in a positive way, because maybe no woman has ever, maybe his mother was carrying that generation of that. So maybe no woman has ever said, thank you, I appreciate it. You look handsome. You smell good. You look, I'll tell a man, you sure are handsome. If y'all handsome, you just handsome. Or you smell nice, or thank you, and so those kind of things, maybe, we have to change the narrative as women and say, well, I have the ability to affect, him in a positive way, even if it's not somebody you want. Maybe you see a guy who's being a good father. Hey, I think you're doing a good job being a good father. Keep doing it. Keep, pursuing it. Or if you see a guy who's not being a good father, but he respects you, hold him accountable. Hold him, because now you're going to infiltrate another generation past your son, because he's going to pass it on. So I think that's where we can start, as a community. And of those of you who just want to continue to be breeders, those of you who just want to continue to be the bed warmer for the breeder, this conversation is not for you. This conversation is for people who want to be better versions of themselves, for women who recognize that they're missing something, or that they know that their relationship is not great with their father, or their father has been inconsistent, and they want more, And so I think we have to make a decision to make some changes if we want different, if we want to move different. And now knowing, what you've learned and what you've seen me experience, I think, for me, knowing that you felt that way and your brother felt the way he felt about, our relationship, what would you share with your son or daughter, if you had one,
Girls
about the
go ahead.
About the relationship or the importance of a father? What would you share with your children about that?
Well, their father gonna be in their life prayerfully.
For sure. So even having him there, though, like, to recognize the importance of him being there.
I think it would be more, that conversation would be through action more so than me vocally saying it.
Okay.
Because I feel like my husband being in the house would show like the significance,
the
and importance, of it. I can't see myself just outright.
Just being
maybe because I'm not a parent. No.
Oh.
But like having that type of conversation with my child, like if their father, when their father like
is there.
Yeah, because it's nothing like all they would know is like a mama and a
family,
daddy.
right.
Yeah, so they wouldn't know like until they start getting to the age where they see their friends like, oh my friend just only has their mom, or like my friend just only has sometimes, which it happens, their dad.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when that conversation will be had. But hopefully I won't have to have that conversation because I want my children to be surrounded by people who also have healthy family units.
Yes.
And I know that's not always reality, but that's what I pray and hope that I want for my children.
So, knowing what we know about history with, our culture, do you think other cultures have problems with men, the absent father? Do you think that other cultures?
Sure. I just don't, it's definitely not just black people. I think it's across the board. Because it's the devil's plot. Like, he don't want no families together because it goes against God's whole intent. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think we're only speaking from the perspective of black people because we are black. But I think it happens.
We are black.
If anybody was wondering, and proud. Amen. But I think it definitely happens in other cultures. Maybe it's just not something that's highlighted, but it's definitely something that happens. Or I feel like in other cultures they have their parents, but their parents be crappy or like mean. Their daddy be mean, especially like abusive, or like in like Asian and Indian cultures. All the people that I know that.
But we love y'all anyway, though.
Yeah, for sure. But like the people that I know that are like Asian and Indian, they don't really like their fathers be there, but like their fathers not like
caring,
caring. Yeah, and like this family that I follow on TikTok, they're actually Indian, and like he's the first image that I've seen of like a dad who's like from like
another culture.
Yeah, and he's like really like presents himself as like a really good dad. Like you can tell like he's not strict, like he don't do that, or like even Mr. B from
don't mention the man's name.
I'm sorry, Mr. B, if you're watching this. but like even Mr. B, like when he was
and you said it again.
I said it already.
Oh,
Mr. B, if you're watching, we love you. But
we do.
But like when he would talk to me about his daughter and like he wanted the best start for his daughter. That doesn't mean I know like in their house like if he's like actually like she considers him a loving father. But I know like from the conversations that him and I have had, like he cares a lot about his daughter, and he wants what's best for her. So like they have their fathers sometimes, they're just not good fathers.
And I think society, the people that are that navigate the media or the public persona, does a really good job of only painting our culture as being poor fathers, knowing that they orchestrated the entire concept of the missing father because you had the breeders. So I think they, with full intention, only portray that so that mindset is embedded.
Massive projectors.
Absolutely, they're masters at it. And so I think with that happening, often males don't know I can be a good father because I've only seen the negative side of it, but that's because that's intentional, right? So it goes back to that desire. And the desire has to be, okay, I'm here now as a father. How can I be the best father that I can be? Let me get the resources. My father wasn't there. My father was there. But I think actually there may be more good African-American fathers than we would think. But because the projection is, well, let me make them think there isn't so they won't do it, so they can continue to perpetuate what we want, which is for them to be self-destructive.
And I also think, we can end off on that I feel like it's a lot of fathers, even though they didn't get, like, the child didn't get the right start, because maybe, let's say, like, the mother and father weren't married, and then they broke up, but the baby mamas be bitter. Yeah. Like, and they want to have an opportunity to be a good father, but then it's like the girl, she don't want you in the child's life for X reason, or he's moved on and the baby mama still want him. Like, you also have to.
So I just want to speak on that just a little. So here's what I say to women who decide to have a baby. I don't care what the man tells you. Understand as a female, when you have a baby, it's your baby, and you can't. My husband passed away, and I was became a single mother. But I went through a divorce and I was still a single mother. So at the end of the day, as a woman, you have to understand you can only count on what you're gonna do, right? So if I decide to have a baby with a male, I can't be bitter at him because there's no guarantee that he's going to be there forever. But I know what I'm going to do. So if I know that I'm so in love, I just can't see straight, my vision is just so foggy, I'm so engulfed with my love with him, forget that, think about the child, because if bruh decides to move on, bruh's moving on, right? You gotta find a way to get to a place of healing, because there's no guarantee, even if he stayed, he wouldn't die. There's no guarantee that he's gonna be there for, like, you can't. So when I decided to have children, I had children with the understanding that I know what I can do. I know the parent that I can be. And which is why I never spoke negatively about your father to you all, because I knew what I was gonna do. I knew I was gonna do everything I can to be a good mother. I knew everything I was gonna do to be solid as a parent. So I can't be bitter at him because he's moved on and try to hold you back from having a relationship, because there is a significant role he plays in being in your life. So women, you've got to stop with the bitterness, because you made the decision. You can't have a baby if you don't want one. I don't care what he say. It's your body. So you don't have a baby if you don't want a baby. With the understanding that I know what I'm going to do. And y'all have birth control now that I ain't never heard of. Like, besides abstinence, besides waiting till you're married, besides waiting until you're in the proper situation. That's all we had to be. That's all we had to be. And if we had anything else, I didn't know anything about it. But, now there are so many other resources to not do. Just practice that. You shouldn't be doing it. That's just me saying that. That's the OG speaking to you. But have safe sex. 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 Have safe sex.
You said it. It's tongue twister.
It's tongue twister. But that's so the bitter thing. You're right. When women do that, I think you've got to find a way to heal. You've got to find a way and release it, because it's not fair to the child. It is not. And there are some guys out there who really want to be, the best father that they can be, even though they no longer desire the woman. So don't be bitter, and don't think babies hold men either. That doesn't work either. That's an old thing that has never worked. Ever, ever, ever. And it's never gonna work, because men are not wired the same mentally as women are. So that doesn't hold a man.
Didn't I tell you I wrote a paper about it, and my professor said, she said don't say that.
That men are wired different? They're not, they are wired different.
She told me don't say that.
Okay, well, I'm not your professor, and this is my podcast. Men are wired different.
And on that note,
there you have it. That is this week's episode of Let's Talk About It with Keola. I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. I hope you got some nuggets that you can kind of, implement into your life. And please believe that I love you guys without I'm still being tongue twisted. Love you guys without judgment. To stay connected, make sure you are following me on TikTok and Instagram. And I love you guys without judgment. And I will see you next time. Ta-ta.